if I traded it all, if I gave it all away.
Welcome back, everyone. My next guest has also been on my show before, a while back. I have Gray McQuarrie, and the name of your company, which I don't have in front of me right now, is
Gray Rock.
Gray Rock, I remember now. Gray Rock, and you're an author, and I love the name of your books. This one that I read is, and I can say this, you have a damn problem.
That's right, but remember it's D-A-M.
Exactly.
It's
So
not a
tell 'em
swear
what it-
word, it's
right.
an engineering term.
So tell them what it is.
Well, if you think of a dam, it blocks the flow of water. If you think of like cash flow to a business, well, the dams in your company are stopping the cash flow to your business. And growing up as an engineer, being trained as an engineer, being trained to be super technical, it became obvious now in my 20 or 30 years of work that these dams are caused by people.
Oh, yeah.
Because companies are composed of people. And we're very creative at creating our own dam problems.
Now, I read the book.
Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. And there's so many fabulous things that you can work towards with your business, but also with yourself as well. Because as I'm reading about the rock star, I'm wondering, am I a rock star? You know, and I want you to kind of talk a little bit about what you mean by some of these things. And also, if it's okay with you, I'd like for the audience, maybe as you're talking, a part of a test that, because at the end of every chapter, there's a summary and all of that, but there's also a test.
Yes.
That you can find out whether you are one of these things.
Right.
Are you a problem? Are you a damn problem?
Yeah.
And so if you don't mind, I'd like to do that. I'd like to
Sure.
also open up the lines to the audience for anyone who might want to call in. We're going to give away, can we give away at least one book?
Absolutely.
Okay, so
And frankly, if anybody wants one, I'll send it, provided it's not hundreds and thousands or something
that's
like that.
okay. It
but
won't
it's
be, but
4 or
let's-
5 or
let's
something
do
like that.
We're going to
good.
give everyone who calls in a signed autographed copy of his book. I know you have others, not just this one.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And do you have a website that they can go to?
grayrock.net.
And that's GRAY.
Yes.
And that's
I talk
another thing you
about that in the book.
Exactly.
You
See?
notice that the book cover is gray?
Yes, I know I do. Okay, so everything has a purpose.
Absolutely.
So, grayrock.net.
That's correct.
Okay, and our lines are open here, and you can call in for the book. I believe that it is a very important book for everybody to read because I believe that you can use this for yourself. And if you are working for anybody, I don't care if it's a corporation or not, because all businesses basically work somewhat the same. If you have that problem, whether you're a corporation or not, it's usually from somebody, right? And it could even be the top. Go ahead.
You're going to solve my damn marketing problem if this keeps up.
Our number here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. You can call in and get yourself a signed autograph copy. Everyone's going to get one, 602-277-5369. And so talk a little bit about the book, but I also want you to give a test for everybody. I want them to ask about themselves.
Sure. When I wrote this book, I thought I was writing it to solve other people's problems. And what I discovered is I was solving my own problem. So I was a victim of each one of these things. Now, there's sort of a stack or pyramid that I show at the beginning of the book. And as you climb a pyramid, you can think of like a pyramid in Egypt. As you go farther and farther up the pyramid, you become less and less connected with people. And what business organizations are beginning to discover is the more disconnected people are, the less productive you are. And our behaviors really dictate whether we're going to be connected or not. So, for example, one type of person or a person's behavior, you don't really want to label the person, but the behavior and what they're doing. Because I've been all of these things, by the way.
I think everybody is.
Yeah, is a jerk.
Oh, I didn't say that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but and the jerk is about the ego dam, where we think we're better than somebody else. So usually when someone's one-upping you, you say they're a jerk. The problem with that is that blocks productivity. So what would be a question that would identify you as a jerk? And I talk about my golf game in the book. And if you go to the tee box and you hit an errant shot and you jump up and down and you're just apologizing or getting angry, well, you're being kind of a jerk, because what I found out is no one gives a crap about your golf score. They just want to have fun. Mm-hmm. So that's one example of sort of testing somebody.
But I'm going to also want to talk about certain things. Like, we talked about the person who's a rock star. I talked
You're
about
going
that
to the
for a minute.
rock star, aren't
but
you?
I want to move on from that.
Okay.
Because, well, we all think we're rock stars, really. I mean, I think we do. I don't know that that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I realized that after reading the book, obviously.
Yeah.
But I wanted to, the first one that stood out in my mind was if someone's righteous, whether they think they're righteous or not.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that is a sensitive
It is a
subject.
very sensitive subject, and I happened to I folded the pages on many pages.
I see that the book is well worn, and I'm very impressed, because you said, I'm a pretty busy person, Gray. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to your book, and here you are. The book's in shambles. You almost need a new one.
Right, because, I identified with it quite a bit.
So let's talk about the righteous just a little bit. On each one of these chapters, I start with an important quote. And I have a quote from René Descartes, who at the time of the Renaissance was regarded as the smartest person. He knew everything there was to know. He invented Western philosophy. He invented the Cartesian coordinate system that we learned in algebra. And here's what he said. I am indeed amazed when I consider how weak my mind is and how prone to error. And I talked about a story about Ken Olsen, who is the CEO of Digital Equipment. And I lived in Massachusetts and drove through those campuses on my way to work for Shipley Company, where we were trying to develop photoresist to make semiconductors smaller and smaller and smaller. And he said that in his view, in his righteous view, that no person would ever want a computer in their house or in their office. And that destroyed their business. So righteous, we sort of think we have to be right. We know the answers, but so we better be very careful, because like this very smart man said, I am indeed amazed when I consider how weak my mind is and how prone to error. What that means is we have to be connected to other people and create a mastermind of sorts to really understand the world around us.
So ask them two things. I just want to do the test.
Is there a special?
I can't wait to take the test.
Okay, let's do the test to see if we're righteous, okay?
Okay.
Now, there's two sets of questions that I have. One is for yourself, and then one is for the company.
I want the self right now.
Okay, the self.
Because ourselves are the ones that are problems.
Here's question. There's 10 questions.
Don't do 10 of them. Just do 2.
Okay, let's do 2. Let's say, do you feel if what you tried didn't work, you should do it again in exactly the same way until it works, like Field Marshal Sir Douglas Haig?
Okay.
And I talked about that. So you remember Albert Einstein? He said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And this is a trap that righteous people fall into. Here's another question. Do you judge people harshly when people change what they're doing instead of sticking with the original plan? So often we spend such efforts in our planning exercise that even when things are going badly, we keep on pushing the plan as if it's going to work without really reevaluating. Are we doing the right thing or not? Do we really understand what we're doing? And so I have a sort of a scale on that from 1 to 5.
And that's the whole thing. I want everybody, as we go through some of these things, to think about that on a scale of 1 to 5 where you might fall in.
Yeah.
So again, everybody who's calling in, you're getting a signed autographed copy of the book, which is, we call here at 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. You can check him out on his website. It's Gray, Gray, rock.net.
Now, sometimes when I walk into companies, the rock star and the victim are very closely related to each other. And I talk about the victim, too. And Ayn Rand had this quote that evil requires the sanction of the victim. So if you have a rock star at work that's just making you feel miserable or making you feel ashamed or making you hate your job, you're unfortunately tied to that role. You have a decision to make. Do you continue to work for that rock star? Do you continue to work for that company? Or do you decide to take action and either voice and say, this is unacceptable, or go work somewhere else?
That fits into what I was pulled out just before you started talking, which is that the solutions And
Yes.
they all exist within your
Oh,
four
my
walls.
goodness.
And here's what I want to talk about. And what I'm saying to this is again, you were talking about the business and that four walls. But those four walls are not just of your business.
Right.
They're also you as your family.
Absolutely.
Your own self, your whole thing. Our lines are open here. We're starting to get our calls again.
Yeah.
Everyone who's calling in is getting a signed autographed copy
Now,
of the book.
Unfortunately, a lot of people say, you're a consultant. They label me with that. And I say, I'm different. Oh, yeah, right. I've heard that before. That's what they say to me. But when I say, look, I don't come with you with a pre-canned package of what's going to cure your problems.
Go ahead.
But rather that the answer to all of your solutions, your problems, are within your four walls.
Again, our number here is 602-277-5369, and toll free it's 1-866-536-1100. I love the book, guys. Give us a call back. We're going to be coming back and talking about this further. grayrock.net.
If I traded it all,
So
if I
welcome back.
gave it all
And we are talking with Gray about his book. This one is called You Have a Damn D-A-M Problem.
Yep.
And before we left, we were talking a little bit about the four walls, but I also want to mention what I said to you. I have read the book, and what I did, I have my own business. I'm my own person. I run it. It's only me. But I'm my own problem, you know.
Yes.
And I think that's what was really neat that I got out of the book was how I utilized it for just myself. Forget, you know, and if you've got anybody else and maybe you have a company that you own or you work for somebody and there's somebody there that works with you that just, there's somebody that just makes you miserable there. It's there too. But it's also within your own self. And again, also, even if you don't work, you can utilize this for your own self and find out what kind of person you really are.
Yeah. Do you remember the Jeep story I talked about in the book
Oh,
when
yes.
I
I'm gonna
drove
tell
the
you-
Jeep
Yep.
into the Verde River?
Yes.
Okay, here I was with a couple of gals and one of their daughters, and I was trying to impress them. I hadn't seen them for a long time. And so I had this big Jeep with the big tires, crossed the Verde River once, got away with it. I was scared. They were excited.
I'm so glad you got stuck in it.
And then when I got to the Verde River, I told the gals to get out, watch me cross this river, and I should have known better. I didn't consult them. I made my own damn decision. I felt I was righteous and knew what I was doing, and I felt entitled to drive across that river because I'd done it before. I drove it straight in like a submarine, and we had to walk 6 to 7 miles out until we could get into cell phone range and call. I didn't know actually anywhere you can call 911 and it goes to a satellite if it's not local. That was one of the things I found out from the Forest Service. But they had to send a helicopter to get us out.
I know.
Now, they were all pretty mad at me, but they still tell the story. But that isn't the way to impress people. And it had everything to do with being a jerk, with being righteous, with being entitled, and trying to show off where I was the rock star. And I created my own problem, and I made everybody suffer physically and mentally as a result because they're all traumatized. How are we going to get home?
Right. It was a
So,
scary situation.
It was a
too.
very scary situation. I learned from
and
it, but that isn't how you want to
I bet you
learn.
it cost you some money because
Yeah,
they had to come
it totaled the Jeep.
Oh, wow.
And I wrecked my friend's truck trying to get it out, too, because I had a certain amount of time. Otherwise, I was going to get penalized.
Because you thought you could get it out, too. You thought you could do it yourself. You needed help. You needed to ask for help. You see how it turned around again on you?
I am a victim of this, and I'm a victim of my own four walls.
We
So,
are all, is exact
yeah, so I'm
point.
not sitting up on some stump and saying, shame on you. No, this is what we all suffer from, and I created this book to help myself and to help other people because I
Okay.
just couldn't find anything else like it.
Okay, we know about the rock stars. We know
Yeah.
about these. Let's
Yeah.
talk about the perfectionist.
Oh, boy.
Okay, because how many people out there think that they know that they are, may not like to talk about it, but they know that they're a perfectionist. Do you think that we can maybe ask a couple of them to see if they can think of whether they are or not?
I'm going to do that, but I'm going to also do the quote that's at the start of the
Go ahead.
chapter because that's from Harriet Breaker, who's a therapist for women, and she's made astonishing breakthroughs because a lot of women, wives that essentially run businesses, because a household is that, had this to say: striving for excellence motivates you. Striving for perfection is demoralizing.
Okay.
We're not perfect. And I can't, in conversations now after writing this book, I have to stop people and say, nobody's perfect. Stop it. You're destroying you, yourself, and your company. So here's a question. Do you hate receiving advice on a scale of 1 to 5?
I'm a 5er.
Are you a 5er?
No.
Believe me, I struggle with getting advice. I have to stop and say, my ego's in the way, and my learning dam is in the way, thinking that I know it all.
Mm-hmm.
I got to shove that to the side. And when I receive advice, it's usually outstanding. Do you pride yourself in knowing you can always find flaws so you can condemn the person or use it against them to your political advantage?
I'm not going to answer it. I want people out there to think
Yeah.
about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, on a scale from 1 to 5.
Because I
again.
am not a perfectionist. I'm not. That was the one place
If you say
I
it
excelled.
one more time with not, I'm
I
going to be
am?
worried.
Oh, I am.
I'm a perfectionist. When I really work on a project, it really has to be perfect for me, and it's harmful to my health.
I may not
I
be
was a
I'm
perfectionist
hard
writing
worker,
this
though.
book.
Maybe
Yeah.
I am and I don't know it.
Yeah.
I got to retake that test.
Yeah. Is there only one way to do something? The one and only perfect way. And does this way happen to be your way?
Mm-hmm.
Just curious.
Yeah. Now, if anybody's out there thinking that they might be that way, and I know we all are at one point.
Well, if you're not that way at work, are you that way at home with
Exactly.
your kids and with your
Exactly.
significant other?
Yes.
That's the true test of one's character.
Now, again, let me get out this information. You can check him out on his website, which is grayrock.net, and Gray is spelled Gray. And everyone who's calling in, you are getting a signed autographed copy of the book. And the number to call here is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100.
Let me bring up something that's really provocative. It has to do with one of the solutions to these dams and to these behaviors. And it has to do with entitlement. How do you break entitlement?
I was going to bring that up. I'm so happy
That's
you
okay.
did.
So the solution to that is to think this way. It's gratitude. And here's a statement that really perplexes people, and Gandhi was one of those that used it, and many others. And it goes something like this: God's protection is rejection.
It's so true. It is absolutely true. And and also in business, when you're making your calls, you're doing your whatever, you're working really hard,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you don't think you're going to do it. You're going to not make the quote for the day or whatever it is.
Right.
And out of the blue, something unbelievable happens.
Yes.
I believe that's God.
I'm glad you brought it up. People are sometimes really uncomfortable about that, but it gets to the issue of control. Do I control my world? Am I God to my world? And
Okay.
you're not.
See, now
You're
I didn't
gonna
look at it that way.
You're
Okay.
gonna. There's so many different ways to look at that,
Okay.
because God's going to slap you in the face.
He does all the time.
Your higher power, whatever it is, the creator of the universe, is going to slap you right down. It's to make you stronger, but it's also a wake-up call. You're not the God of this planet. You're not the God of this company. We could all be wiped out like that.
And we're not the God of our family unit either.
No. And if you try to protect your kids, you'll wreck them.
Okay,
And
yes.
I talk about my father in here. My dad tried to do the right thing. My dad was offered a Rhodes Scholarship, but his dad didn't want him to do it. And my dad decided to go with my father's wishes. And he forever, for the rest of his life, regretted it, because he thought that my dad was going to fail. That he should have a less ambitious goal. That's more certain in medicine.
Now, why do you say at the end, when we're talking about the iconolist, or how do you say-
Iconoclast.
Iconoclast?
Yes.
And what is that again?
That breaks the righteous view. So the iconoclast always challenges this is a way we should do something. Like, for example, Galileo was an iconoclast because he challenged the view that Earth was no longer the center of the universe. So in sort of a broad scope, that's the best definition of it. If someone would have challenged Ken Olsen at Digital to say, you want to know something? Like Steve Jobs has the right idea, and we need to completely change this business to make personal computers for the home, for the person, rather than for the big companies and the insurance companies. The iconoclast is a savior a potential savior for the company. And if you really want to keep and sustain growth, or if you want to get out of trouble, you need to go out and find those iconoclasts, and I give you clues in the book in terms of how to find those people.
And I don't remember now, was there a test on to see if you're an iconoclast?
Yes, there is.
Because I think you need to ask that since you've been doing all
Yes,
the bad
there
things.
is.
Let's do something good.
Yeah, hopefully it's, let's see, what chapter is that going to be? Be a chapter 10. Let's go to the chapter 10, and there should be...
Got a couple of minutes, so hurry up.
Okay. Here's a question. Accomplishing what was thought to be impossible would be to you. So this is, do you want an iconoclast? What would it feel like to accomplish what was thought to be impossible?
Fabulous.
Absolutely. Coming up with real breakthrough solutions where your competitors are no longer a threat would be, on a scale of 1 to 5 for you. 1, not a big deal. 5, a freaking big deal.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Say that again to me.
Okay. Coming up with real breakthrough solutions where your competitors are no longer a threat would be...
Fabulous.
Exactly. But yet, there's a price to be paid for that iconoclast because they're not going to take orders. You're not going to tell them what to do, and they're going to challenge you, and they're going to wear you out until you really listen to them and understand what they have to say in terms of the vision that they see. Mavericks are the same way, and we talk about Mavericks in the book as
again,
well.
We're describing this, I'm hoping that everybody that's listening to this is thinking how this book can also be good for them personally, not just within their business, because your 4 walls are within your own self. Forget anything else. It's in your own body.
That's right. And we got to remember, Carol, business is a big part of our lives.
It is. We are there most of the time.
Yes, with the people that we work with.
And so it could be somebody that you work with, and it could even be your own self.
Absolutely.
Again, our number here, we're going to let you call for the next few minutes, is 602-277-5369. Toll free, it's 1-866-536-1100. Everyone who's calling in, you're going to get a signed autographed copy of this book. And you can check them out on the website, which is Gray, Gray, rock.net. This is just one of them that I read. I'd like to read some of the other ones. And so, do you have a DAM